Hello there, boys and girls. Welcome to lesson 12.9, Problem Solving, about elapsed time. Our essential question is, how can you use a strategy, draw a diagram, to solve elapsed time problems? Please go ahead and open up your Go Math workbook to page 237, and we'll begin. Our first question says, Molly started her piano lessons at 3:45 p.m. The lesson lasted 20 minutes. What time did the piano lesson end? What we need to do is we want to draw a timeline so we can figure this out. Because what we want to find is we want to find the time that her piano lesson ended. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a line. How about right there on question 1, make a line, and that's going to be our timeline. Now we know it started at 3:45 p.m., so let's make a start time. I'm going to write 3:45 p.m. Go ahead and do that with me inside of your Go Math book. Now it says that the lesson lasted for 20 minutes. That's very important to know. Now, because I know it lasted less than an hour, I'm not going to jump a whole hour on my timeline. In other words, I'm not going to say it went from 3:45 to 4:45. But what I can do, because it was less than an hour, it was only 20 minutes long, I can count up by intervals of 5 minutes. So what I want to do is I'm going to make marks signifying 5-minute times. Okay, so if you just do that with me on your timeline, that will help you. And then what you're going to do is we're going to just count by 5s from 3:45 p.m. So we're going to make one jump, and we're going to call that 350, because 45 plus 5 is 50. I can make another jump for 5 minutes, and that'll be 3:55 p.m. Now we know it lasted 20 minutes, and so far I've gone 5 minutes, and then I've gone another 5 minutes, so that's 5 plus 5. So I can go another 5 minutes, which would be 4 o'clock. The reason why is because on a clock, we go from 3:55 to the next hour, which would be 4 o'clock, because remember, there's only 60 minutes in an hour. Well, I've only gone 15 minutes so far, so I have to go another 5 minutes, which will be 4:05 p.m. So, I can find out that the time that the piano lesson ended was 4:05 p.m. So that's our strategy that we're going to do today. Our strategy is to draw a diagram to find elapsed time. Let's look at question number 2. For question number 2, it's a little different than the other question we just did because we already know the end time. See right here, it says he stopped playing at 3:55. But he spent 24 minutes playing this computer game. But his end time was 3:55. So our question's asking, what time did he start playing the computer game? So for this one, we're going to subtract. So go ahead and make your timeline with me on this one. Make a line, and we're going to write down the end time. We're going to write it at the end of our timeline as 3:55 p.m. And we're going to count backwards. Now we know he spent 24 minutes playing this game. So right away I can subtract the chunk of 20 minutes that I know from 3:55. Because I know 3:55 minus 20 would be 3:35. Because 55 minus 20 is 35. See right here? So do you see how I have 35 now? And now that I'm at 3:35, now I just have to subtract the 4 minutes. So what's 4 before 3:35? It'll be 3:31, because 35 minus 4 is 31. So we took away 20 and we took away 4, which equals 24 minutes. And the new time is 3:31. And that makes sense. That's when he began his playing of his computer game. Okay, so now let's take a look at number 3. It says, Aimee's karate class lasts 1 hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and underline that. Will you go ahead and do that with me as well? And it's over at 5 o'clock p.m. Go ahead and circle 5 o'clock p.m. The question asks, what time does Aimee's karate class start? Again, we're looking for the beginning time. Much like on question number 2, we had to find the start time. So we know it's over at 5 o'clock. So just like on question 1 and 2, let's go ahead and make a number line or a timeline. And what we're going to do is we're going to label the end time. Now, according to my statement up here, it says it ends at 5 o'clock p.m. So go ahead and write down 5 o'clock for your end time. And our question is, what time does it start? Now, our information that we know is that it lasts 1 hour and 15 minutes. So we have to go back 1 whole hour and 15 minutes from 5 o'clock p.m. to find the starting time. So I'm going to make one big jump for my 1 hour. All right? So I'm going to start at 5 o'clock and I'm going to jump back from 5, a big jump, and of course, since it's 1 hour, we're going to make it 4 o'clock p.m. So we've just taken care of our 1 hour. But now we have to find the extra 15 minutes that the class lasted. So we're going to count back by intervals of 5 minutes from 4 o'clock p.m. So we're going to start at right here at 4 o'clock, and we're going to count back 5 minutes. I'm going to make a 5 right there. Now 5 minutes before 4 o'clock will be 3:55 p.m. Because remember, the whole hour is 60 minutes. So 5 minutes before 4 o'clock is 3:55. I can go back another 5 minutes to make it 3:50 p.m. And now I can go back one more group of 5 minutes to get 3:45 p.m. Now let's see if this makes sense. I'm going to just check it. 3:45, 3:50, 3:55. And that lasted 5, 10, 15 minutes, which took me up to 4 o'clock. And then from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock is 5 o'clock, which is 1 whole hour. So therefore we have 1 hour and 5, 10, 15 minutes. That's what it says up here. Therefore I can say that my start time was 3:45 p.m. Do you see how we got that? All right. Just so I know that you're doing the homework along with me, will you do me a favor for question number 3? I want you to make a smiley face, but make star eyes. This is what I'll be looking for to see if you guys did your homework. Go ahead and do that. You can even make them into cool star sunglasses. All right. Let's go on to question number 4. Okay, let's take a look at question number 4 now. It says, Mr. Giarmo left for work at 7:15 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and circle 7:15. Go ahead and do that with me. That's an important piece of information. It says 25 minutes later he arrived at his work. Go ahead and underline 25 minutes. What time did he arrive at his work? So we want to know what time did he get there. So since we know our start time is 7:15, we need to find the end time. So this means I'm going to have to add to my 7:15 to get the end time because we know the beginning time. So on this one, I'm going to use a strategy of counting up by 5-minute increments just to be safe. So I'm going to start off by doing 7:15 plus 5 would be 7:20. That's adding my 5 minutes first. Add another 5 would be 7:25. Add another 5, which would be 15 minutes, would be 7:30 because 25 plus 5 is 30. Add another 5, which would be 20 minutes because 4 times 5 is 20, would put me at 7:35 because 30 plus 5 is 35. And another 5 minutes, which would be 25 minutes total, would put me at 7:40 a.m. Now let's see if this answer makes sense. If I had 7:15 plus 25 minutes. In this case, I can actually just show my addition because there's no regrouping to the next hour. It's safe to do this. I can just check it. Yes, that does make sense. My model shows that it makes sense as well. Therefore, it works. So we can say that Mr. Giarmo arrived at his work at 7:40 a.m. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the last question. Now on this question, go ahead and pause the video after you read it with me, just so you can try it on your own, and then we'll see if our answer matches. All right, the question says, Mrs. Brown's flight left at 9:20 a.m. Her plane landed 1 hour and 23 minutes later. What time did her plane land? Go ahead, pause the video, and try to do this one on your own, and then we'll check together. Okay, this is a model that I drew. It might be similar to yours. If yours was a little different because you did different increments instead of doing counting by fives for each minute or groups of minutes, that's fine. You could have just done a chunk of 20 if you wanted to. But anyways, here's just a basic model I drew. I'm going to go ahead and point to each part so you can see what I did. Okay, you should have done something similar to this. I started at 9:20 because that was my start time. And I did a big jump for my 1 hour to show that it was 1 whole hour that it had landed. And that put me at 10:20 because 9:20 plus 1 hour is 10:20. Then I have to deal with this 23 minutes right here. So I'm going to add 23 minutes to my 10:20. Now you can do a big chunk of 20 to make it a little shorter, or you can count by fives each time, whatever is easiest for you. So I added 5 minutes to 10:20, and that made it 10:25. Another 5 minutes to 10:25, which made it 10:30. Another 5 minutes, which made it 10:35. Another 5 minutes, which made it 10:40. And then I'm going to add on this extra 3 little minutes, which signifies my 3 minutes right here. And that will give me a final end time of 10:43 a.m. That was when Miss Brown's plane had landed. I hope our answers matched. Let's go on to your homework questions. For your 2 homework questions that we'll be checking together in class tomorrow, number 1 says, Bobby went snowboarding with friends at 10:10 a.m. They snowboarded for 1 hour and 43 minutes. And then they stopped to eat lunch. What time did they stop for lunch? So our question's asking, what time did they stop for lunch? You know the start time, you know how long it took them to snowboard, and then you want to look for the final time. Look at your 4 choices, pick A, B, C, or D in your Go Math book, and then let's look at question number 2. It says the Kane family drove for 1 hour and 15 minutes and arrived at their camping spot at 3:44 p.m. So you know the end time. Your job is to find out the start time. At what time did the Kane family start driving? So you may want to draw a model right here to figure out the start time. Now remember, you do know the end time, so be very careful on this one. When you're done with questions 1 and 2, go ahead and do our review questions on page 238 that have to deal with stuff we've done in the past. And so you should be experts on those. Don't forget to rate yourself, either a level 1, 2, 3, or 4. Please write that on your Go Math page so that way I can glance at that as I go around to check your homework so I can see where you stand. Again, here are your 2 homework questions. Do your best on those. Please show your work using a timeline just so that way I can see your thinking as I come around to check. And again, don't forget to rate yourself as level 1, 2, 3, or 4. Again, we'll go over these tomorrow and we'll have some fun activities to practice so you will feel like an expert when we're finished. Have a great night.